Onboarding, and welcome everybody to this special edition of our boot camp because we have another special guest. Super excited. So Ashley and I have gotten to know each other through one of the masterminds, and she comes from a team that is really strong in onboarding and systems and processes, and she teaches on a regular basis and has continued to teach on that. And it's always good to have individuals with different perspectives and to be able to ask questions. So she was gracious enough to take time out to bless us with this information, and I'm super excited and happy about that. Like we talked about last week, we have added over 70 new people to the team, and if we could get those people in the last 3 months that we've added onboarded properly, everybody would rank up in the next 3 months, like without a doubt. If we can get these people onboarded properly and on ER and spending more than 100 a month, that would get everybody to their next rank without a doubt. So the new member process and the onboarding is something we really got to dig into because people are going to continue to come in during this period. This is high season. So that part we don't have to worry about. But getting the people plugged into the system, getting more people to classes, getting people to understand that 50 PV is not a lot, like 300 is the minimum for a 4-person family. Those are the things that we got to work on. So with that, I will, and just FYI, as you guys can clearly see, I'm mobile. So I'm probably going to turn my camera off. And if it takes me a second to respond, then give me a second to respond. But I'll have my camera off for the rest of it, and we will get started. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So first of all, so super felt special when Tashina asked me to jump in here and talk to you guys. Like she said, we met through masterminds, and what's really nice about that and connecting with people is that it's from all over the country. So some of the things that Young Living does, it's very regional. And this was a little bit more branched out, and it's great because you can hear how other people are doing things. And really that's like one of the greatest resources I think that we get from Team YL is to be able to connect with each other and learn. And I always say, like, steal the good ideas and personalize them to make them work for your team. Because if there's some things already there, I'm a big work smarter, not harder person. Personally, I'm innately lazy. So if I can take what's working for some people and personalize it for me and my team and what my people need, it's all the better. So very quick, a little bit about myself. I'm an executive with Young Living. I got my kit as a Christmas present when I was pregnant. I wanted to ditch some of the like seasonal support medications I was taking, and a girlfriend of mine had posted that she'd been using these for 3 years. She took things when she was pregnant and with her kids and all kinds of stuff. So I was like, yeah, let's check this out. I let it sit in my box for about a month because we were moving, and I know myself, and I'm like, I need to just like be able to give this at least 15 minutes attention when I open it up, or it's going to sit on my shelf. And was able to do that. But the reason it really didn't sit on my shelf was because my enroller has a really good onboarding system, and she made sure that I was aware of the resources, how to ask questions, continuous education, so that I felt comfortable with these new things in my house, and that I was actually using them. Because I think we can all admit that we got really excited at some point and bought something and then never really used it. Like last year's Cricut machine that I got for Christmas, and it's still in the box, right? So onboarding, really important. And it's not only important for the members, but it's important for us too behind the scenes. So throughout this, like, feel free to use the chat to ask questions. If you're somebody like me, like a question hits your head and then you sit on it, and then 30 seconds later you forget what it is. So put them in there, or any comments, anything like this. Feel free to have like fluid conversation. So does anyone currently have an onboarding system for their members? No? I can see Carrie says no. Everybody else's camera is off. So
We do. Okay.
Tashina sent me an Excel sheet that has all the steps. It's just implementing the steps.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So I'm personally just a big fan of systems in general. I'm a little bit scatterbrained. So if I have something that I can go back to kind of just make sure I'm not skipping things, or kind of even just to turn my brain off from everything else and let myself focus on like that system, it's really helpful for me. In the form of Young Living, systems have become extremely important because a lot of this business, especially when you're starting, is go, 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 and momentum, momentum, momentum. When we're in that, sometimes we forget to slow down and just double check everything, and to make sure, like, am I on this path correctly, or at least how I want to be? Because sometimes we feel like if we slow down to like focus in other areas of this business, that it slows down our momentum. And really what it's doing is it's allowing us to audit ourselves. And if we don't audit ourselves, we don't really know what's working and what's not, because we just keep go, go, and go, and go, and go. And we even take the time to look at the stuff that is working to see if it could get tweaked a little bit to then just like really take off. And systems are able to do that, especially onboarding. Okay. So when we have new members, right, all the awkward stuff's gone, right? They already got their kit, they're here, it's awesome. But we want to remember that we're not in it to kind of hit it and quit it, right? Just because they're a member doesn't mean that our job is done. That's really just the first step of it, because there's so much after that. So say they enrolled with the PSK, which most people do. That member, there's a very good chance they have no idea about thieves and Ningxia and CBD, and that pretty much anything in your home, beauty and cleaning wise, or even beyond that, your pantry, could be, you could do a ditch and switch with, right? Which ultimately would get them on ER, which ultimately would have those higher ER numbers like Tashina was talking about earlier. So there's a huge continued education aspect when it comes with our new members. And just because somebody enrolls doesn't mean that you stop offering classes to them. I personally fell into a hole where I was like, oh, well, they're enrolled, they're not going to want to come to like a starter kit class. And then I looked at it, I was like, some of these people never even attended a starter kit class before they got their kit. So like, yeah, maybe they do. Or maybe they're a learner that they actually retain this better after they physically have it in their hand. And then they're like, oh, I didn't know I could use my lavender for that. I didn't know I could use my valor for that. And then even those other things like thieves and Ningxia and stuff like that, they have no idea about it. So yes, like we need to continue to offer them that education afterwards. And really it's only going to build a stronger team, because what's going to happen is the more exposure they get to things, they're going to be more set up to have an emotional connection with these products. And when they have an emotional connection, that's when they have aha moments. That's when they have stories to share with people. That's when they start thinking like, oh, well, if this worked this way, I wonder how this product would work. Or, oh my God, I had this aha moment with Valor. Oh, they have Valor deodorant. You know, it kind of just snowballs more and more. And that really comes from continuous education. Okay. It's funny because this is also the new member experience, and this comes from corporate YL. It's the most skipped over step with members. And when I heard that, I was like, how does that even happen? But then if you think about it and you talk to other people and they have inactives or people that aren't ordering and things like that. I know my organization, when I look at the people that are going inactive, it's because I didn't do a proper onboarding system with them. I enrolled them pretty early on, or I enrolled them at like an in-person event, and these are people that I don't know. And we formed a relationship there at that time because they, you know, purchased a kit. But after that, I didn't do my due diligence to make sure that they had everything that they needed. So there's a couple different ways that you can make a list for yourself, or a list, you know, for yourself and kind of the members to double check. And our brains all work differently. So like I'm somebody that gets a lot from it, like just being able to do a check mark. Like I feel good about that. So I want to do the check marks. So I'm more inclined to like, okay, I'm going to make sure that like, yes, they have all of these things. So I think the first thing that you want to do if you don't have anything like that, or if you do have Tashina's, and you're like, okay, well, I think maybe I don't send a welcome email, so that part's not going to pertain to me, but I do send a welcome package or things like that. You want to get those all down on paper, right? So after tonight, like an action item for you guys would be to write down what you're currently doing with members, okay? Even if it's just one thing, write it down. And then think about yourself as a new member and what was or would have been beneficial for you, and write those things down. And then look at that all as a whole and think about how you are as a leader, the time that you have, and what you want to offer people. And from that list, you're going to be able to come up with a really good start to an onboarding system. And I say start because just like our business, this is always going to progress, okay? So you may be doing something right now that works for your team for onboarding, and it might not work in 2 years. And that's okay, because your team's different, their needs are different, things like that. But if you just take the time, like the 5 to 10 minutes maybe, to get that list going, now you have something to grow off of. Does that make sense? Okay. So this is something, let me pull it up here, that I put together for myself. And again, I love myself a checklist. Let's see here. Cool. Am I able to share the screen? Yes. Okay, cool. Can you guys all see this?
Yes.
Okay. So this is what I use as my enrollment checklist. So this is something like a behind the scenes kind of back of house thing, right? New members don't know that I go down this checklist, but this is me making sure that like my T's are crossed and my I's are dotted. So when somebody enrolls, obviously I'm going to put their name, I'm going to put the date that they enrolled and the kit that they enrolled with, and their ER start date. That right there is really beneficial for me because then I can log anniversaries. If they enrolled with the PSK, then I know that there's a really good chance they don't know about the other stuff that's offered. If they enrolled with Thieves, I know like the Thieves kit, I can look at that and say like, obviously getting chemicals out of their home was like one of their most important things. Let's make sure they get PSK information and oil information because that can replace their candles, like things like that, right? I do send a welcome email and a welcome package, so that's on there. And then, so groups, right? Facebook groups are amazing. I love to use them as like a little oily education search engine. But the fact of the matter is, I'm pretty sure everyone's in like a gajillion groups. And some days I'll log on and I'm like, I don't know what my algorithm's doing because I didn't even know I was in this group, right? So I have those on there because one, my own checks and balances, make sure I sent them the invite or the link or whatever to put in the group. And then what I do so that that group doesn't get lost in like the shuffle of algorithms, and that also they know as a member that I'm still thinking about them. My upline education groups in their announcements have a start here post. So I make sure I go in a few days after to try and tag them, okay? This is nice because one, if they're in the group, they're like, oh, awesome, like Ashley's thinking of me. That's wonderful, she tagged me in this. Yeah, I wanna start here and go at my own leisure. It's nice for us then too, because now it's like, cool, Carrie knows that I tagged her. I'm gonna check in like 2 days and see if she had any questions about that stuff, right? So you're continually following up and giving yourself follow-up opportunities with this new person. Now, if I go in and I sent Carrie the link on Monday and I try and tag her on Wednesday and she's not in there, that also affords me a follow-up opportunity because I can reach out to her and say like, hey, did you have any trouble getting in the education groups or anything like that, right? There's a lot of things right in the beginning that if we do, it can spark just like a natural conversation where it doesn't feel like every 3 days you're like, hey, do you love your oils? Hey, what's your favorite? Or hey, what's your this, right? Which we still ask those questions, but this is nice because it's giving us like organic kind of opportunities to talk to them. Business groups. So in my welcome email, I let them know that there's a very quick blurb about how Young Living is a referral-based business and they gladly throw $50 at people for helping other people. So, and then I give them like their enrollment link, and then I just let them know if you ever want to explore more or have questions, we have great business groups. So I'll tag them in there, or put the links in there. That same time when I go back into the education groups to try and tag them, I go into the business groups too. Like if they're in that education group, I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go over, maybe Carrie went into that business group. Let me see if I can tag her. Now I don't reach back out and say like, you never went into the business group. But it's nice to know if a new member went into a business group to explore, right? Like that's something we want to know. That's something nice to check off. And then I have, for me, and honestly, this is probably going to get tweaked because I'm not super good at the 3, 10, and 30. But I have my reach out times. So for me, I'm still going to have 3 reach out times, but it might be more within like a 60-day thing. So maybe it's like a 10-day, 45-day, and a 60, whatever. But like I said, this is always evolving, right? When I made this, 3, 10, and 30 days were working fine. They don't so like as much right now, but I need to tweak it so that I'm still reaching out to somebody. And then I also added best way to contact. I have found that a lot of people, when they first reach out, especially if it's like a social media based thing, say somebody, I'm on Instagram and they follow me and they saw my story about the little Oilers kit and they message me through there and they end up enrolling. That doesn't necessarily mean that the best way to contact that person is through Instagram. So I started asking them, what is the best way to contact, so that you know about things that are going on, so that you know about classes and all of that. And a lot of people, usually their answer isn't the way that they first reached out. So that's just a little side note that's been beneficial. It's a nice question to ask. And then I also write down their initial interest in Young Living. A lot of people, they have a couple different interests in their wellness and different priorities. And their first priority may have had them sign up with the Thieves home kit because they wanted to get rid of those cleaners. But they also may be looking for more energy, or they work out a lot or something like that. So that's also a nice note to be like, you know what, I want to make sure that they know about Ningxia, or I want to make sure they know about our supplement line or things like that. So ideally for me, what I'm doing with this is I'm making a really nice one place to look at what that new member needs, so that when I want to reach out 45 days later or 60 days or whatever, 6 months later, right? Because we want to keep these relationships building. I now have a nice little cheat sheet that I can look at, so that I can have like an impactful conversation with this person. Because as our teams grow, we're not going to be able to retain all this information. Okay. If you forget why somebody first enrolled a year ago, that doesn't make you a bad leader. That makes you human. Okay. We have a whole lot of stuff we have to remember just to be able to get through our normal day. It's not scalable to think that as our teams grow and we hit bigger ranks and we're enrolling more people, that we're going to remember all of these things. So if we can have some type of system in our onboarding that makes, like, writes these notes down that can kind of jog our memory, it's going to make for a more connected conversation with our members. Okay. Anybody have any questions on that little cheat sheet?
So you said the 3, 10, 30. So 3 days after they got their kit, is that the idea?
Yeah. So I know some people that do it 3 days after they enroll, and that's when they do kind of that business group check-in. And then that, depending if they're in it, you know, goes the 2 ways. Like, do you have any questions on the business, or not the business group, I'm sorry, the education group. So that goes like, hey, I tagged you in something, or have you checked anything out, whatever. Or it goes like, let's make sure that you get in there. Other people, it's 3 days after you get your kit, which I think is a little hard to read because we don't know when they get delivered. So I usually do the 3 days after the enrollment, and that's kind of like the first education group check-in. And then by 10 days, they typically have their kit. I mean, COVID shipping, who knows, because every shipping delivery service is backed up, right? But usually 10 days they do. And even if they don't, we still get to have like a nice conversation. if they don't have it after 10 days, then like a 15-day check-in might come, because by that point, like they definitely do, you know?
Yeah. And do you generally do a 12 days of oils, go out over an oil a day, or how do you do that with
I
education on
haven't,
the oils of the kit?
yeah. So in my welcome email, I let them know that there's a few different ways to like open their kit and go over everything. I let them know that there's a video already posted that they can like open their kit with me, and it's just like a recorded video of me going over the starter kit oils. Or that if they want to hop on like FaceTime or Zoom or whatever, we can do it together. Or, and I'm pretty sure I have it like typed out, like, or, you know, since you're just a strong, independent, excited person, you can do it yourself and then shoot me questions or, you know, whatever. So I give them a couple options of like what they're comfortable with. If we don't do it together, then normally with that follow-up is also like, what are you loving? What haven't you used yet? Is there any oil you're confused about? Usually Dyes and Panaway are the two that they haven't used yet, depending on like if they have like muscle pain or not. But usually Dyes is like the one that they're like, do I diffuse this? I don't know what to do with this. And then even that, like through that conversation, like you're educating throughout it, you know, which is kind of nice. Okay, so that's on our end as leaders, right? More like the back of the house business things. When we have an onboarding system that is checks and balances, we're making sure that the things that we said that we were going to, that we actually did. I know like when I enroll somebody, I talk to them about the education and the community they're going to have have access to. I tell them about a welcome package that they're going to get. But life is busy and it's messy and sometimes we forget things. So that's also really beneficial because it's making you keep your word to a certain extent. So as you guys make your own, if there are things that you tell customers that like you're going to offer, like as part of your enrollment, those are really good things to have on your new member checklist to make sure that like you're staying with that kind of thing. And I do have a blank version of that sheet that I'm going to send to Sheena that she can get out to you guys. I can send her both copies if you want, but then also like a blank one for you guys that you can fill in and kind of play around with and have be like a rough draft or whatever. Okay. So the other part about the new member experience is, so we talked a little bit about, you know, when we get them using their products, that's when they're going to have aha moments. That's when they're going to connect, right? Another really big part about the onboarding is making sure that they're aware of the community that comes with Young Living. And it doesn't matter who you are. You could go onto the website and not talk to a single person and order your kit and be like a, you know, one of the like the orphan accounts and get put onto somebody's team. You still have access to all of Team Young Living, all of the resources, all of the people, like anything you need. So making sure that they're aware of that and like through conversation, like seeing what would benefit them the most. If you're not a social media person, make sure that they know about the amazing resources that are on the Young Living website. Like, I mean, the Facebook groups and all of it are amazing. I think that's what kind of takes it like to the next step because it's searchable and great and you're talking to like real life people. But honestly, that website, as long as somebody has that, they can get comfortable with their oils. They can find things out and things of that nature. Making sure that they know about those classes, making sure that they know if something's coming up, making sure if they know that your Crossline friend is hosting this like cool thing and being like, hey, I know you talked about your pets before. I'm not like super aware of all of the things with oils and pets that you can do, but my girlfriend is doing this class and I wanted to learn more. Do you want to do it with me? Things like that, right? Like we don't have to offer, I shouldn't say that. We should be offering everything that we can, but we don't always have to be the one that's like all of the knowledge, right? So even things like that, if like you want to come to this class with me, is showing the community and how they work together and things like that. And then it's also a little less intimidating for people. because some people think that they need to know like everything about everything to even start using this stuff, and it's not true. So if you can get them not only introduced to the community, but starting to be active in it, that's really when they're going to get inspired by other people and their stories, and they're going to find more people to relate to, because wellness is very different for all of us, right? Every single person in here, if we took our top 3 priorities in wellness, none of them are going to line up exactly the same, and they don't have to. But that's why like introducing them to the community is so important, because they can meet people that, you know, maybe one of their wellness priorities does line up. Maybe their stories are similar. And if they can read their success stories, they're going to be inspired to try more and to use these products. Falling in love with one product line. I mean, we all know Young Living. It's hard not to just fall in love with all of them, because they're unlike anything else, right? So the inspiration and the education so go hand in hand. And truly, when we onboard somebody correctly, when we make sure that we kept our word with what we told them when we were, you know, when they were just prospects, they leave feeling cared for and supported. When we make sure that they are connected into the community, they feel like they're not alone in this like weird new world, right? And when we inspire and educate them, that's when empowerment really comes into play. And you're going to have these members who feel empowered. You're going to have members who feel like, oh my gosh, yeah, I don't have to run to CVS because like for my sore throat, because I have thieves and lemon and some honey, and I'm going to make thieves tea. And they just soothe themselves, right? There's something very empowering about that, and having these options in our home, and being a little more control of our own wellness and what we're doing. If you can do that with a new member, like I just got chills talking about it. If you can do that with a new member, the sky's the limit for changing lives, because that's really where it happens. I know just some examples of like what I do to keep that connection is I do, now I've pivoted, but prior to COVID, like once a quarter at least, I would invite my team over for like a team hangout. And I'd like theme it around something just so that there was like some direction of the day. But it was really low key. It was like, you know, some snacks, some wine. Say it was like a Ningxia class, so we'd have Ningxia mimosas, and I'd have little shot glasses out so that they could put things in their Ningxia or whatever. But really it was just like maybe 5 minutes of education, like formal, like, hey, this is this and this is that. And the rest of it was just a time that they all got to connect together and talk. They always find themselves, like my big oil shelf is downstairs. And every single time I would do it, people always like found themselves there, and they were smelling things, and they were talking, and they were sharing in between each other, like how they use things. And what's nice is like, I'm not the one facilitating that now. And what's nice for them is they're learning from new people, because again, we're all different. And they also, like, for a lot of them, that's their first opportunity of being able to like kind of like geek out and talk oils with people. And that's normalizing the conversation for them. And ultimately what happens then is they start geeking out and talking oils to like everyone that will listen, because they're awesome. So if you can normalize things through this onboarding system too, that's really helpful. I think that's all I have for you guys. Does anybody have any questions? Was that too quick?
Yeah,
Okay.
so a quick one on for newbies on virtual office. Do you feel like most find it self-explanatory, or do you go in and show them how to place their next order, especially that it's on ER, or just as it comes up, or
Yeah,
it's supposedly changing? So
yeah. So in my welcome email, I have a bit in there about actually, I'll go over my welcome email so that they get it. It's so excited that you're getting your kit. I tell them to save this email. It's like there's going to be some important information in there. So the first thing is groups. the ones on Facebook, or actually it's like resources. So I say we have online ones, like social wise. We also have some great websites. I list the Young Living website, and then also my enroller, who's a Royal Crown Diamond. She has her own website that has education sources over there. She takes a lot of what we talk about in the groups and moves it over. And then ordering is also discussed. So I say, like, when you go to reorder, here's some information that you need. If they already signed on to Essential Rewards, I remind them of what their date is and how to change it and things like that. And then I also go over just how to simply shop something. And it's not super, like, you know, it's not super log in and put the this and this. And then this is now what's going to show up is called your dashboard. And then to the dashboard and this. It's not like so detailed that it's like convoluted. It's more just like kind of figuring on the base of like everybody's been on some website at some point ordering something. So like here's the two things that you're going to look at: Essential Rewards or shop, and just tell them to go there. And then from that, if you have any questions, let me know, because then it also leaves the door open for them communicating with me and things like that. Yeah, I want to say for the most part, everybody has like an okay time with it, or like a fine time with it. The only problems I think I ever really run into is if they're looking for an oil that is like ER exclusive and they're in shop and they can't find it, or if like something's out of stock. But other than that, that little blurb, like putting in the welcome email, I think is helpful.
Yeah, that's a good idea. What are some of your top bullet point things that you cover in your welcome letter? Is it pretty extensive then?
It is and it isn't. Like I feel like I'm gonna pull it up right now. There's a couple different topics in it, but none of them are so like super in depth that it's like too much to read, because we're all on our computers all the time. So I didn't want something where somebody opened it and then was like, oh God, I can't read this right now. Okay, let's see. This is a good one because she jumped on ER. So share the screen. Okay, good. Okay, so yeah, right off the bat, tell them how I'm excited, and then I also tell them what this email is going to include, so that I get their attention right away, and they're like, oh yeah, I do want to read this because I do want to know about my member info because I don't remember it or whatever. So go over the online education groups and the resources. So the Facebook groups, other online, like the Young Living website and the Modern & Co website. Favorite products to use with oils. So this used to be a little long and kind of clunky looking because there was a bunch of like Amazon links in there and things like that. What I noticed, the problem with that is sometimes things aren't on there anymore. Also Amazon links, as you can see, are like really long and kind of junky looking. So when you have like 8 of them, it's just visually not too appealing. Also, there's a gajillion things on Amazon. So as long as I let them know that they can find things like rollers and spray bottles and whatever, that's fine. Like, it's one of those kinds of things where like, we're all adults here. I think we know how to like search for something on Amazon. So that was one of those things I went back and I edited myself, like part of that audit, being like, this is like too much. Hold on one second. My dog is about to burst through the door. I'm sorry.
Doggy calm, oils.
Okay.
Oh, this is great.
Yeah, he's a mama's boy. So, but one of the links that I do leave in there is the reference guide from Life Science Publishing. It is an Amazon link on there, but that book is so beneficial. So if part of your onboarding system is that you can like show the value in that book, it's just another way that people are going to feel comfortable and like start to get empowered through these oils. Do you send gifts? All right, so Tabs asks, do you send a gift to those who sign up with, and if so, what? So I do. I'm gonna knock this out and then we'll go over the welcome package. So opening your kit. You can do it by yourself. You can do it with me. Reordering and essential rewards. So this, if she were on essential rewards, under the spot that says click essential rewards and change order, I also would then list her ER date. I would have a blurb in there about that. It's based off the day that you enrolled, but if it's better for you to have a different day in the month based off of like when you get paid or whatever, like you also have full control of that. And then just a spot in there for to shop. And then I always put in there the part about like, remember, if you don't update your ER order, you will get sent the same thing. But that I'll be in contact for the first few months, like to remind you about what that date is. This is the friends and family part about why I will send you $50. And then it gives them access to business groups. I have their member ID, ER date, and their link for enrolling. So I use yl.pe because I think it's just a cuter, smaller link than the one in Link Builder. And also I like the fact that I can attach their name. I think it just looks personalized. It looks a little cleaner. And then I let them know that if there's any issues to reach out to me, hop on live chat, figure it out. But I also put in there too that if I don't know something, I would be happy to figure it out with them and we can learn together. Because that's a big part too of like I don't want anyone to think I know everything about this world because I don't. I also want them to like know that they can find out information as well. Because when we talk about scalability and a growing team and things like that, you're going to be at a point where you have thousands of people in your organization and it's just not feasible to answer every single question. So if they come to you with a question and you don't know it, but you can like figure it out with them and teach them like how to find out the answer like with you, that means now the next time that they have a question, they're way more inclined to jump into the education group or go onto the Young Living website to try and find the answer themselves before using you as like a reference book. You know what I mean?
Can we see the beginning of your email? Oh.
Yeah. No, you're fine.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's nice.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can send this to Tashina too, if that's beneficial to you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. And kind of how I was saying earlier, right? Like, take yourself back to when you were a new member. What would have been beneficial to you to have? So I had all of this information, but it wasn't all in one email. And just knowing myself, I'm like, if I could have had like all that and just been able to like save that email, that would have been really nice. I had like 90% of this, because really your members are your demographic. A lot of them are going to be very similar to how your brain works and things like that. Not everybody is, but I think kind of as a whole, the majority of your team is. So it's those thoughtful kind of things are going to relate more to them.
How do you get the shorter link that has the name?
So, and I'll put it in the chat too, but it's yl.pe.com. It's a Young Living link builder. So I sent it to Tavis privately. Hold on.
Yeah, do you know of other link builders too, or I think I've used that one, but it's been a while.
That's the only one I've ever used. It keeps going private, sorry.
That's fine. And I do like it because you can use the name.
Yeah.
The one on our VO is like so long and clunky.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like, it's awesome that they provide it to us, right? But at the same time, and again, taking people's ideas and just making it better. There was a Young Living member who thought that it would be really nice to have those shortened links, so they made link builder websites that are shortened. This one's like specifically for Young Living. Not like through them, but whoever developed it like was a Young Living builder. It's the only one that I've ever used, but it's also just really,
Simple and easy.
Yeah, it's just like you go in, all you need is their member number, and then you get to choose what that backslash is. So I don't know, 95% of the time I can use their first and last name. I think with a couple people, I used like a middle initial or something. I just happened to know their middle initial at that point, but just something easy for them.
In case there's a lot of Jane Does out there or something.
Yeah. Now I will say with that website, they ask for an email so they can email you your link so you don't lose it. I always just put in my email because I also don't want to confuse people. I don't want them to be like, she told me I never had to do this business and that I could just buy products. Why am I getting link builder emails? You know what I mean?
That way you can have it to put in their welcome letter. That's great.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like, I already know they're going to have it because I'm sending them an email with the information. But if you go onto that YLPE website, they'll ask like when you're making the link, they'll ask for an email to send it to. So I always just put in my own email so I don't confuse the new member.
Makes sense. That's great. Yeah, I keep thinking, oh, it'll be on the new website, I'm sure. But September's come and gone, and I can't hold my breath anymore. I gotta just do something.
Yeah. Which I mean, honestly, is good too, right? Because it's like I look at Young Living as, and this is just kind of like my interpretation with it, but I look at Young Living as I started a wellness business, and that was the product line that I partnered with. So anything that they offer me or offer us is amazing. But if it doesn't work for me, or if I need something else, I'm just going to do it or find it,
That makes sense.
Yeah. And even honestly, I'm like, as much as I would love a new website tomorrow, I'm also really okay with the fact that they're not rushing it, because I'd rather have like a new website that is just like gorgeous and working the smoothest any website in the world does, opposed to like, well, we got it out when we said so, but now there's problems. So do you guys need me to go down more?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I love how you just had the simple outline at the top and then the details.
Yeah, because to me, I just, I used to work in corporate America, at least for a stint, and I still get a lot of emails about things now. And if I see like a really long email, but they're not letting me know right up front, like what I'm getting myself into, I check out. So again, kind of just knowing like, at that point, I'm like, well, I'm just assuming everybody else is as squirrely as me. So let's just let you know what's going to be in here real quick.
Ashley, I actually have a couple of questions. So as the silver with 350 people on my team, and I send an email to everyone on my team, and I have the majority of what you have in your email going out, how do you manage with your upline so that there's not overwhelmed, knowing that you come from a team that is very engaged? And I've shared Annie Hauser's 16-minute video about, community with them. Hopefully everyone watched it when it was shared with them. But how do you manage that? And even like, how did you decide that you needed to be sending the email with all of that detailed information?
Very good question. So if you haven't watched that video, watch it, because Annie's whole thing is about community. It really is what drove her to Royal Crown Diamond. So I lucked out a little bit right in the beginning because Annie was my enroller. So I knew firsthand like what she was sending, things like that. And then she stacked me under another girl that we went to high school with. We all grew up in the same area. So that's another Ashley. So I didn't get a welcome email for her or anything. She's listed, I got stacked under there. But I did have like a conversation with her about like, well, I know what Annie sends to new members because I saw it firsthand. What do you send? And she goes, I send something very similar to Annie's. And I just personalize it. So I knew through those conversations as well that my new member was not going to get any new member anything from my upline. that it very much was like it was going to come from me. What they offer for my new members are amazing education groups that I don't have to recreate. So that was really helpful in not kind of doubling or tripling down on information. They do send out project broadcasts to everybody in their organization. Annie does, and Ashley will send a monthly newsletter to everybody in her organization, which is also nice because that's two things I'm not going to have to do. So I think having those conversations with your upline about, well, what do you guys send and what don't you, and things like that, really cuts down on, especially for a new member, kind of overwhelming them. And then it just cuts down on like efficiency of like, or not cuts down, but adds to efficiency of your time. You're not doing like the same thing over and over and over again. But I do make sure that I let them know like who Annie and Ashley are, so that if they get these messages, like this is like who it is, and they're not kind of weirded out. Did that answer it, I think?
Yeah, that was actually good because I had that just today, and she doesn't speak English, so she's like, I don't know who these people are writing me.
Yeah. And sometimes we forget to let them know, you know what I mean? But again, that's just another avenue of a conversation. And you can be like, oh, you know, that's like in my case, like, oh, that's Annie. She's my enroller. She's also like, you know, you might not realize that because you're a new member, but there's really a group of people here ready to support you in this education. She's another one of them. Yeah. Okay, cool. So Tavis had asked, so I send out gifts for people who sign up, and if so, what? So I do. I am, because like resources were so much a part of my story and actually getting to use these things, I really like to make sure that people have access to them as well. So from Life Science Publishing, I always go on every couple months and see like what deals they're having. I kind of have a list of like some of their little booklets that I like, because I'm also somebody, as much as I love the online aspect and the quickness of answering, like asking a question, I still really like to have like physical resources, things that I can page through if I get bored, or take on a plane with me, or like whatever. So they have some really great ones that I think cover like a wider spectrum, and I send it with them. So there's they have like a 350 ways to use thieves cleaner. There's a book called Aroma Clean, and it talks about how to like detox your home and your life. So that one's really nice because it's going to talk about multiple products. It's going to talk about seeds and ningxia and oils, and toiletries and pet stuff and whatever, and it's going to do it all under the theme of like detoxing your home. There's another one in there about like DIYs with oils. Some people really like DIYs. Like I have members who they like Thieves laundry soap and the dish detergent, but they also learned how to make their own using their oils and some other things. So being able to offer that education and things like that. And there's a CBD one I put in there. And then I just make sure that I don't know if you guys can relate to this, but I hate when I get something and I'm like so excited about it, and I open it up, whatever it is, and then I realize I need like 3 other things to really use it for how I want to use it. Like instant bummer. And I didn't want the kit to be that way, right? Like if they wanted to make a roller, I wanted them to be able to make a roller right away, and and all that kind of stuff. And also like they just enrolled. I don't want to make them have to go onto Amazon right away and spend another $40 on getting all this stuff. So depending on the person, the size of the family, why they got into it, what kit they got, I'll send in some other things like a roller, a small little dropper bottle of carrier oil, like a tiny little spray bottle and things like that, just kind of like some accessories. I throw in a roller key, and in my card I make a joke about like the thing that looks like Swiss cheese and you have no idea what the hell it is. That's for your rollers, stuff like that. So really just anything that just like accompanies that kit and it's just going to make them more comfortable, I think is just really nice in a welcome package. All right. Yeah, you're welcome. Anybody else? Any questions? I hope I wasn't too squirrely and it made sense. All right, cool.
This was really helpful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. So Tashina had mentioned it earlier. Myself and 3 Crossline friends, we actually teach systems and things like that every Monday night at 8:30 East Coast time. So any and all of you are welcome to come. Your downlines are welcome to come. Again, that's you know, new business people onboarding. That's another thing, like offering education and things like that. So if anybody ever wants to come to them, you're more than welcome to. I'm going to give Tashina later this week. We're switching it up a little bit going into the holidays. So we're really going to be breaking down like how to enroll somebody and how to share, and onboarding is going to be part of that, and follow up and stuff like that. So if you guys would like to attend any of those, you are more than welcome to.
Ashley,
Yeah.
when you say systems, what do you mean?
So systems are kind of like an order in doing things to kind of work smarter, not harder. So really everything has a system to it. We always just don't stop to realize that or like to write them down. So systems in kind of like the Young Living world, they teach a lot about, there's a gentleman named Eric Worre who has worked within network marketing for a very long time and was very successful at it, to the point where he made these 10 systems that he saw for himself that like kind of got foolproof. And he now teaches them to people who are in network marketing. So a lot of what Young Living teaches, if you do any of the boost calls that they offer, things like that, which if you haven't, they're really great. A new one just started today, like this week. So like those 10 systems are things like customer acquisition, so finding new members and like a system to do that, new member onboarding, finding new business people within your organization, new business people onboarding. There are things like communication and recognition, follow-up, I believe, is one. I think there's 10 total, so I'm blanking a little bit, but pretty much what they do is they help you get started. They help you stay like focused and have a clear mind of like what you're doing, and making sure that your actions are like lining up to your intentions and your goals. Yeah, I was trying to think. I have my cheat sheet from like the 4 that I teach a lot, but I don't have the rest of them on me.
Yeah, so I think just to reiterate, a system really isn't the order that you do the things so that it's efficient and that you're leveraging different pieces as much as possible. So any business has a system. McDonald's is a successful franchise because they have a duplicatable system. Every time you walk into a McDonald's, you know exactly where the bathroom is going to be. The registers are so simple that a 14-year-old can run it. That's how you want to make your onboarding process for your new people. You want to take all of the complexity out of it, and that's why you possibly hand them the link now to a reference guide and a roller bottle. That is a part of the system. Whether or not you decide to give gifts, that's going to be part of your system. Whether or not you decide to send an additional email on top of the one I send, that will be part of your system. Everything on that checklist that we showed at the beginning and the checklist that I provided to you guys, you're going to edit it to your needs and say, I want to do this, 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 and this. This is what my people are going to need. And that checklist basically is running your system.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's on the boost call from today. It was customer acquisition system, and next week will be onboarding system, which Ashley just talked about with us today. So
Yeah. And it's nice. They'll break down like a couple more steps and things like that and get a little more in depth with it, and some more action items and things like that. But you guys will have a leg up because you're like, oh, I already have my draft one. So yeah. But it's also too, it's great, and Tashina touched on it as well, is if we have these systems, we then can pass them along to team members and our business builders and things like that, so that they're not starting at step one or anything like that. So just like Tashina passed on with you guys, her onboarding system, that you're able to start and just edit to personalize to you. You don't have to start with that blank screen, right? So systems are great for that, for just making things easier just for everyone, you know? Hey, cool.
Alrighty, we are at the hour mark and I'm sitting in a car with people to meet afterwards. So I'm gonna definitely end it here. I will definitely make sure that you guys get everyone that's on here, make sure that you get the spreadsheet again. We do have that in English and Spanish. And then I'll send you guys a copy of my email that you probably would have gotten when you were new. Some that have been around 3 years or more probably never got an email because we didn't
Oh,
have our systems together. But I'll
okay.
send you guys our email, and then all of the resources that Ashley talked about today. And then at this point in time, I'm not going to program another boot camp for the team. I'm going to actually plug into Ashley's because, again, I think there's a lot of value in hearing something taught from someone else from a different perspective. And that's why I love the masterminds, and that's why I love the boost calls as well. And if you guys have not signed up for the boost calls, make sure you do that immediately. It will give you so much clarity on what needs to be done to run your system, your business, in a way that's going to be efficient and not create burnout for yourself.
Yes. Key.
Awesome. Thanks so much, both of you. Hey, or are you going to put this in the email, Tashina? I was going to say, Ashley, can you give us your link for your class? I mean, do you have it tonight, or is it starting?
So it is, we took a break this week, which worked out wonderfully. So all those girls have Monday night off. And I was like, no, I'm going to hang with my girl Tashina and meet her team. So we're going to start up next week. And it's going to be, because we're going to be leading into Black Friday and Cyber Monday and the holidays, we are really going to break down and simplify. Like, I love simplify enrolling people and making sure that they are set up and ready to go and happy for the holidays and all that kind of stuff. So even if you have some people on your team or friends that have like thought about maybe doing this, but they're like, oh, it seems too hard to enroll somebody, bring them along. Like, I'm a 3-step, 5-ingredient girl. If it's more than that, I'm already bored and I'm checked out.
Preach.
Yes. Yes. So it's going to be stuff like that. And it's just, everyone's going to be leaving with like tangible things to do and make life easy so that we can just like make money and enjoy life and change lives, you know? All right.
Doesn't get much better than that. Yeah, so totally looking forward to the email, Tashina.
Yep,
Sounds
absolutely.
good.
Thank you guys.
Yeah,
Have an
thank you guys
amazing
so
evening.
much. It was so nice talking to everyone.
Thank you, Ashley. Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks so
Always
much.
love your questions, Carrie.
To me.